the one question in the chat is he wants to know. I think it's Faye asking. May I ask what's been the most difficult or most challenging part of taking refuge or making a transition into Buddhism? Venerable Juedi, could we start with you answering that question?
For me, I don't have much problem in terms of the transitions itself, because despite I'm not a Buddhist from birth, I'm from a traditional practice. However, they share a lot of similarities, views, ideas like cause and effect. And as such, to me, the transitions is quite smooth. However, before I get into becoming a Buddhist, I was like a little bit hesitant, like Hein, because I want to find something that is really beneficial to me. I went for Buddhist classes before I become a Buddhist. The reason was, if I want to call myself a Buddhist, I must know what they are talking about first. What are their teachings first? So once I learn a little bit more, I did learn a lot, because the canons is like so huge and vast. And I practiced it and applied it in my daily life. I gained so much, and I have like so much of Dharma joy. And I see the changes in me, how the applications of Dharma affect my life, affect my interaction with others, and how it affects the way I look at things. Sometimes problems are solved not by solving the problems, but changing my mindset. And it was thinking like, wow, this is amazing. You don't need to do anything literally. But of course, on the process of practicing Buddhism, we know that changing mindset is not easy, because we are born, or we have been like some sort of brainwashed since young. They will literally take a lot of reminders and training. So for my transition was that I started learning Buddhism in 1996, and I take refuge in 1997. It took me a year time. And I don't have much transitions problems, but I don't know how, because you're also from different background before you become a Buddhist. You would like to share your point, how you go through that part?
Yes, Master. Any transition is always difficult. It's not easy, especially coming in a Western way from a Christian background. Now, I must say, what was some comfort and support for me was my wife. She's not a Buddhist and she's not practicing Buddhism, but she's a very open-minded person, and she's more in a yoga practice and that. But it gets difficult with the rest of the family and your friends, because people tend to, as a general way, they tend to see you in a certain way. And if you start changing that way, I think it becomes uncomfortable for them. What is happening now, and what is this now? And it's a strange, religion, although I don't see it as such as a religion, but a way of life. But ultimately, similar to what Master Juedi said, you need to look at your own life. I indicated, I was about 42 when I started making this change, and I said to myself, ultimately this is my life, and I need to do it in a manner that will be kind and compassionate towards the other people. And I think the people around me need to understand it. When I was born, my parents chose my path, and it was a good path. It's like the raft that the Buddha talked about, and I was on a good path, and it taught me good principles. I think it gave me a good grounding in a life. But eventually I found the raft started becoming unraveling. It was taking in water. So I needed to get a new raft for myself because that one was not working for me. It might be working still for other people, but mine was not working anymore. So I rather transferred to Buddhism. So yes, the answer is it was difficult, but I had some support from friends. I made some new friends along the way, the Sangha that we spoke about that supported me. And some of my other friends also was quite open-minded. One was actually practicing meditation from a Christian perspective. And we became closer friends, actually, quite strangely enough. And as I said, I also had the support of my wife. Now, notice, I think there was one question, I couldn't see the whole question. I might be answering also that part of the question where your partner is not in your same view that you've got. Now, I know that is very challenging. But perhaps Master can give some guidance there. And at this stage, I cannot think of a way to perhaps guide somebody in that direction if they wish to, if they've got difficulties at home. Perhaps Master will be in a better position. Thank you, Lee.
For me, I think most important thing is that don't try to change them. Yes, we have our path, and let them see the changes in us. We don't need to speak it out, but our actions, when they see the joy we have, and then the positive changes in us, and please give them time. I think these are the key points. Maybe Lee, you can share how you went through transition.
I think, Hein, maybe you've got it a bit easier than me. I'm from a very Christian background, and my family didn't understand. They didn't understand the questions that I had at the time, the journey that I wanted to take. And somehow the journey just led me to different paths and so on. So when you start walking, it just opens up various paths for you. For me, Buddhism came to an extent where I think I understand things much easier. I wish I can say I have full control over everything. I'm still, although I've been a practicing Buddhist for some time, I feel like I'm still a beginner. I have a lot to learn. But as far as your family goes, it's not always that easy, especially if they don't see things your way. And I have two older brothers, and both are very Christian. And the one that I thought would understand didn't, and the one that I thought wouldn't understand did. So it's also our expectations of people, you know. But it never stopped my journey, and I'm still walking my path. But I see there are some more questions, and I wanted to just look at the next one from Christoph, and he's asking, what if he has doubts about some aspects of the Buddhist teachings? Can he still take refuge? So he's got two questions. I wanted to deal with the first one first. Sefu, if you can answer that.
I think this doubt is natural because there are so many things that we haven't exposed to. I mean, the dhammas, the canons, we know that there are so many teachings by the Buddha. And sometimes it really takes time for you to sit down and then maybe spend years to understand the Buddha's teachings. And this is not only for a person who wanted just to become a Buddhist. Even for me, like myself, I've been a nun for 21 years. There are certain things that I read in the Buddhist scriptures, I don't agree. It doesn't mean that as a nun, I agree absolutely everything in the scriptures. I do have doubts, but what I would do for myself is that, okay, I will leave this question at the current moment because I couldn't solve it, even like asking someone, you know, trying out. I just put it aside first, because sometimes your other practice or your other life experiences later on in your life, it helps you to understand these questions or these doubts. And in fact, in Buddhism, if you have read like the Kalama Sutras, the Buddhas always say that it's okay, it's all right to verify and to have doubts. Henceforth, I don't think this is a serious issue with regards to doubts. For example, one of the most common thing that some people may find it difficult to accept is like, for example, rebirth, because we don't see it. I remember when I was teaching topics on rebirth, I have a really hard time, because how are you going to tell people rebirth, you know? It's something that they cannot see it and feel it, and as such, they find it difficult to accept. And so what we will do is that instead of looking at this, why not we look at now? Every moment, every second is a rebirth. And what kind of life you want to go forward? Are you going to live a life same as your previous life? For example, you are unhappy just now. Are you going to live an unhappy life from now till future? So a lot of things is that you can experience it, not necessary that you can see it or you can feel it, but you just need to, you know, settle down, calm down, and take your time. Yeah, Hein, you want to add on?
I think Master dealt with it quite well. I can just add perhaps a few things that I've dealt with in my life. Obviously, when you encounter Buddhism, I also had some doubts, and perhaps even still have some doubts about it. But as I've indicated earlier, when Lee was asking me the questions about triple gem, for me, Buddhism is a practice-orientated religion, if you wish, or philosophy, rather than a faith-based or a belief-based aspect. So I take the practice and I do the practice, and I've got confidence and I've got faith in the practice because it works for me. I've indicated that I do the chanting, I recite the Heart Sutra, and I even sometimes recite the Buddha's name because it works for me. There are some things like Master mentioned, perhaps the rebirth is something that there might be some doubts about, but I'd rather park it somewhere. It will come on its time, it will come and the answers will come and it will go away, or whatever the doubt is. So actually, it's good to have doubts. That's what I like about Buddhism, and I like what the Buddha's teachings is. He says it's good to have doubts. I think some master might be able to assist me better. Someone, a Zen master, said, great doubts, great faith. So if you don't have great doubts or doubts, you will never get any faith. So on a practical level, I would suggest that perhaps one should engage with your doubts. Ask, where does it come from? What is this doubt? Not just brush it off or linger in those doubts. Investigate it. Buddhism is also about practice, but also investigating these things. The Buddha never said, accept my word. What I said is cast in stone. So he says, investigate. So basically just go and look at your doubts, investigate it, and or park it just one side, and come back another day and look at it again. Importantly, I will say, rather stick to the practice, see whether the practice works. Thank you.
Yeah, I think, Han, you made a good point as well. And also, it's a case of you'll never learn to swim unless you get into the water and actually swim. You also never know what it feels like unless you get into the water and swim. You can read all you might want about it, but unless you practice and bring it part of your life, it's like swimming, you know. You can watch Google, but you still can't swim. So you need to get into the water and swim. So I want to go to the second question.
Sorry, if I can perhaps just add something there.
What promise? Yes, sure.
Sorry, to what you've said, Lee, is chocolate. You know, I can sit here and describe chocolate from morning till night, but if you don't taste it, you will never know what chocolate tastes like. That's why I like the analogy of chocolate. By the way, I really love chocolate.
I got your Christmas hint.
It is such a good analogy, though. So our next question is, what promises do I make by taking refuge? Sifo?
I think the promises is about you see Buddha as the teacher. Okay, so you have a teacher, and then you see the Dharma as the solutions or the path to liberation, and the Sangha as the companion. So this is the only promise you have. That's all. That's how I see it. What about Hein?
Sorry, Master, I missed that one.
Okay, the question
I lost my
is,
mindfulness a little bit.
the question is, what promises do I make by taking refuge?
I see it more as a subjective aspect. I'm not making promises to anybody, not to the masters, not to the Buddha. It's basically, I make a promise to myself that I'm going to engage in this practice and I'm going to do and follow this path. So, you know, and I take the promises that's going to work for me, not for somebody else. It's obviously my path that I'm going to engage in. So I would really say ultimately the promises you make is whatever promises you wish to make. I think the teachings is quite clear what the three jewels are and what one need to do in that regard.
I think it's a commitment to your belief, because even if you know you make some vows or whatever, but after sometimes you don't want, nobody is going to pull you back. So it's a promise to yourself, like what Hein said. It is not promised to whoever. It's unlike taking the 5 precepts. When I talk about 5 precepts, I always tell people, so what is this 5 precepts all about? It's a declaration. It's a declaration that I vow to be a good person. As simple as that. So being taking refuge to me is like you just declare to the whole world that now, hey, I'm Buddhist now, and I'm going to practice the Buddha's path. I may not be a perfect 100% Buddhist yet. I'm walking the path. I see it more on this sense. Mike?
I see.
There we go. Christoph, have we answered your questions?
Yes, thank you very much. I'm happy with your answers. Thanks.
Okay. Then our next, sorry, Hein, you want to add?
No. No, I noticed you're going on to the next question. Yes. Yeah.
So our next question is from Faye, and she wants to know, she's ready, but she has also very religious people in her family and friends, and their judgment can be hurtful. And I think I can quite relate to that, because it was difficult. I can't say difficult because I'm fairly headstrong and do my own thing. So, but my family didn't understand in the beginning, like I explained. And I think I would want to ask Master Juedi as well, to Juedi Fashe, if you don't mind, see if you can help Faye answer, and then we're going to ask Hein as well to give his point of view on that.
I think we have to look in terms of how they feel that's why they come up with this kind of judgment that is hurtful. They may see that, you know, having the same faith and same religions binds the families together, hold the family together. So when one of them is different from their belief, it's like they are breaking off from the family. They may see it in this way. That is one thing I possibly can think of. And also is some religion, they promise that, you know, if you do what, and then you will be promised a place in the heaven. So if you are not, then one day when you die, you won't be together with them in the heaven. So that is also their concern. Henceforth, instead of going directly into their judgment, which we make us feel very unhappy, why not we look at their suffering? Because the unhappiness that they are having is a reflection of their unhappiness. That's why they come up with this kind of judgment that is very hurtful. If we don't have anger in ourselves or dissatisfaction in ourselves, we won't, you know, do something in response. Henceforth, I think we need to learn. It's a process, it's not easy, that learn to be more understanding that they are also suffering inside their heart, in their mind. They may have disappointment, whatever. And always there's a metta meditation. So every day, either beginning of the day or at the end of the day, you wish them well. You wish them happy. You wish them, you know, be away from this kind of dissatisfactions. It takes a lot of times to generate that kind of loving kindness again in the family. And so if you see them as someone who is hurt, not only you yourself being hurt by their words, but you also see them being hurt, you will take their judgment less likely. You don't take it so seriously. Yeah.
I think, Hein, we're running, you've got about 4 minutes to go. Hein, would you give us your side of this, and then we can go into a conclusion, unless there's any more questions?
All right. Just briefly on a practical level, I've also encountered it. What I rather do is I rather not engage with that aspect. I work in a government, and there's 3 things you don't talk about. That's politics, religion, and what's the other one? Oh, there's another one. But so I steer away. You know, there's a family gathering. We're here together. Let's do the kind of. I'm also a vegetarian, so obviously there's a lot of things coming up in that sense. And I always have to tell a family a chicken is not vegetables. That's always a difficult one. Otherwise, you know, I just simply will tell the people I'm a heathen and that's it, and I leave it at that. Then they can do whatever they want to do. I'm perhaps a little bit different in that regard. But eventually the people will accept, you know, if the family loves you, they will get beyond this. You know, initially, as I've indicated earlier, it's kind of a strange transition to them. It's a strange place to be in, and they find it strange what happened now to you and all that kind of thing. But eventually they will see you're still the same person. And as Master indicated, if they see from your practice and your views that you perhaps more loving, perhaps more compassionate, perhaps have a change and you change to the better, they will just leave this alone, and each one will accept, respect each other's religion. So that's basically what I will say.
Thanks, Hein.
In conclusion, what I will thank you, pleasure, leader. In conclusion, I will say the triple gem is like a 3-pointed anchor in my life. You know, it's like a boat in a sea. You tow it out and it keeps the boat steady, and it prevents me from drifting off. So that's ultimately, in one short sentence, what I see to be the triple gem. Thank you, Master. Thank you, Lee. And thank you for all you people for listening all this time to to what I've been able to say. Hopefully, people might find it useful. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much, Hein. And then I think in conclusion, Sifo, what thoughts and advice can you share with new Buddhists?
Well, as you embark on your path in practicing Buddhism, there'll be times where you make mistakes. Sometimes it takes a good fall to really know where you stand. And always remember your initial aspiration.
Thank you very much, Sifo. And on my side, I want to thank everybody for joining us. Thank you very much, Venerable Juedi, for giving us her side. Also from a different cultural background, and for Hein as well. I never realized we were both Afrikaans, but Hein, thank you for sharing your experience in becoming a Buddhist as well. And then just on my side, it's taking refuge in the Triple Gem for me was the first step, so to speak, planting a seed, if you may. And then the practice is really watering the seed and making the ground fertile, so that I can build a foundation for my future. Because it really is about the universal truth. It's not about what I believe in, what you believe in. For me, it's about the universal truth. That really it is. And building that foundation practice really started with taking refuge in the Triple Gem for me. So do we have any more questions?
I think there's one question from Christopher, but I will write email to him because he's talking about the ceremony.
Oh yes, I see. Yes. Thank you, Christopher. We will answer you on the Sifo will answer you in the group on the upcoming ceremony. And then everybody, thank you for joining us. We're running 1 minute over. So I think that was good going. Thank you very much, Venerable Juedi, and thank you very much, Hein, for joining us. And then, yes, if you have any more questions, you're welcome to ask in the chat groups. Thank you very much for joining us, and we hope to see you soon.